Hello, hello, hello. Hi, and welcome. You are watching Good News at Primetime, and I am Sylvia Hayes. Thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. Tonight, we have a great show. We're going to be talking about history, our history before slavery. Because as they don't want you to know your history. They don't want you to know that we had great kings and queens and all of that good stuff. And we actually had intelligence and no tails hanging behind us. A lot of people don't want you to know that. So tonight we're going to talk about history in Africa before slavery, as well as a lot of other history that's going on. And also, we're talking about history. We're going to talk the anniversary of the bombing in Birmingham just happened in September the 15th. So, that was history because they didn't want us to vote. Okay. And voting is so important. They had a voting rally today, people getting out, trying to get people registered to vote. You have until October the 11th to register to vote. So if you haven't registered already, please do so. It is so important. Many people have lost their lives for the sake, for you having that right to vote. So get out and vote, and they're purging now. So make sure you are in the system. You don't want to go to vote and find out you're not there. Okay. Check the registration to be sure that you are in the system because they are purging right now. And register to vote. If you change addresses, you change your name, make sure everything is in place. And also, we still have that water crisis in Mississippi. And a lot of people, they're just not getting that good water. They're drinking bad water and it's making them sick. Okay. And the system has been messed up for years. It hadn't just started with the flooding. It's been messed up for a while. They've been having bad drinking water. So I am asking everybody to please contribute or think about contributing a water filter to the people in Jackson, Mississippi. The water filters are only $35. If you can buy 1, 10, or whatever, they need those filters. The elders need the filters. The children need it just to have clean drinking water. Because even though the governor says, the system is up good and all of that kind of stuff, it's not. It's not up to par like it needs to be. So you get a glass of water, you see a film on top of it. You don't want to drink water like that. So if you can get a filter and contribute it to the family, please do so. Go to lifebeyondwater.org, lifebeyondwater.org, and you can buy a filter. They will ship it to a designated location in Jackson, Mississippi, and then we will go down there and distribute it, or somebody will go down there and distribute it. Some people, they've already taken filters to the high rises, one high rise already this past weekend, so the elders can have cleaner drinking water. And we want to take more. So we're asking anybody, if you can contribute, just $35. You can go on the website yourself, purchase it, and it'll be shipped down there. Okay. Lifebeyondwater.org. In the meantime, we're going to talk about my book, Power Thoughts, Empowering You to Be Successful in Life. Okay, this is the book. Everybody needs to get that book because it's very empowering. And one of the things in the power thought for today is you control your destiny. You have the power to succeed. Let no one discourage you from reaching your mightiest dream. And that is for everything. You control your destiny. And you can't let people control the narrative of your history either. Okay. So you control it. Okay. And you can get this book at AandKproductions.com. AandKproductions.com. Pick up your book. You won't regret it. We're going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, Mr. Reggie Drummer, so we can get started on this conversation. Hello, Reggie. How are you?
What's up there, Miss Sylvia, and to our good news audience out there? I'm feeling good. I'm doing great. It's an awesome day. Anytime we get to talk about our history, is a beautiful thing. I definitely want to encourage everybody to comment, like, share, and subscribe over here at Square Mile Media Atlanta. We're making history over here. Make sure you hit that notification button. But there's so much to think about, especially if we're here in America. Our history began long before 1619 or 1492. So we got a lot. We got a lot to share.
Yeah, we do. Yes, we do have a lot to share. And we have guests also. Let's go ahead and bring them in. We have two guests who has a lot of history about Africa. And so we're going to be talking about African history before slavery and maybe some after slavery as well. Hello, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
Hello, how
you're
you doing?
welcome. So we have Ms. Pat Snipes and Dr. I'm going to say Koya Olatera Rue.
Terror.
Olatera.
Best day of my life.
Okay. Yeah, welcome. I'm so glad you can be here tonight. So, well, we're going to just get right on started on it. Ms. Pat, tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Pat Snipes. I'm the founder of the Vibrant Health Association. We got established in 2004. And the organization is about whole person, addressing the whole person to prevent disease rather than detect something and then have to battle it. And we would routinely share with people the top, diseases in this country. And in each case, the minority population suffers from whatever is debilitating or deadly more than anyone else. And so we started digging into that and discovered several things. But one of the factors is that we don't know who we are, where we came from, what what existence we had prior to being enslaved. And enslavement is no place to start when you're identifying yourself. So all of that brings on stress, and stress brings on disease. So it was a natural choice to go in this direction.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And Dr. Koya, would you like to tell us a little bit about you and tell us what your name means?
My name is Koya. Koya means will not suffer. And my last name is Olatero, which is a part of my compound last name. It's Olatero. That means wealth is enough load to carry. And I sent you my bio earlier, but I'll give you a brief synopsis of me. I'm a born prince from Nigeria, an HBCU product. I went to Southern University and both of my degrees from there. And I've been in Atlanta since 1983 and served under Mrs. Coretta Scott King back in those days as a volunteer for so many years. And I opened a business in 1989, and I'm still serving in my business, Metro Brokers Insurance. In College Park, we recently moved down to downtown. And I wrote a book, Juvenile Delinquency Recidivism in Fulton County, Georgia. And it's in Barnes and Nobles. And I enjoy serving. My hobbies are playing tennis and golf. And I'm glad to be here.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. You play tennis, huh?
I'm a Hall of Famer, and I played a little professional before retiring.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. The first professional tennis player I've met. Okay. So there is a lot of history in Africa that we don't know about. Of course, we have a lot of history here, but I was thinking about Black history. Now, the history that I learned, my history from when in school started with slavery. Okay, so actually, to tell you the truth, the only thing they told us about history, Black history, was Africans were enslaved, Black people were in slavery, and that was it. They didn't tell us anything before slavery. They didn't tell us anything after slavery about the great inventions and all this other stuff. They didn't tell us about that in school. So you have to learn on your own. And so here you have the history about Africa. So I'm just ready to learn. Okay. So which one of you would like to tell me a little bit about slavery? Well, how did it get started? Because when you say something to certain people, they say, well, your people were the one that sold you off. You can't blame us. They were the one that sold you off into slavery. And I know that they might have had slaves in Africa, but I don't feel like they were the same as they are here. And I don't feel like if they knew that the people were going to be treated the way they were treated here, that they wouldn't have sold them off. What is your take on that, Dr. Koya?
Koya.
Koya. I'm gonna
You're
get it
not,
right.
you're not alone. Thank you so very much for the invitation again. Don't feel bad about it. I was born and raised in Africa, and we did not know nothing about the history of Africa besides our personal history. And like I said, and I'm saying most of my presentation, that the brain of Africa is here in the United States. Without Black Americans, what we're doing now, we would not be doing it. And I credit all of that to what the host and the co-host are doing and bringing all this to limelight. Growing up in my primary elementary schools, all we learned about is about some white folks coming to Africa. It's about the queen or king of England. And what it did is, like, you look at what happened back over there. Human beings will take advantage of a lion. A lion is the king that once the cause it captured, it took advantage of it. And that's, I believe, what happens to Africans. Yes, out of greed and whatever it is, we sold the brothers. But our brothers, after so many years, took advantage of it, got the knowledge and got the wealth. And now it's time to reconnect and say, okay, this is it. And that's what they're trying to prevent, so we cannot connect. And Black Americans have done a magnificent job in getting this into limelight, and we have to pass it down to our kids.
Okay. And
I'd like to jump in there for a second. And for a lot of us who are old enough to remember when the series Roots came out, Alex Haley's Roots. So for a lot of us, that was our first exposure to any understanding of really what slavery was or what it was like, And because of Alex Haley, we learned a lot, and it pointed us in a direction so that we could dig further and learn more. And one of the things that we don't often think about is that while we were being enslaved over here, our brothers and sisters on the continent were being colonized. So it was a very similar experience, but different because, they were still, on the land. But we come from the same branch, the same family. We're connected.
Okay, was it England that was colonizing Africa?
Europeans, England did West Africa. Then Portugal is part of them. Then France. It's like they just sharing ideas and say, okay, these are wise people, they're smart and they're strong. What can we do to get them on our side? And things of that nature, and enslave them with guns and move them across the sea down here.
Oh, okay. You are a little low. Can you speak up or turn your volume up some?
Okay, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
So,
I was listening, and this is interesting because a lot of times here in America, by us being separated from the continent of Africa, we didn't know what was going on in Africa. And when we think about Africa, Africa has always been a lot of countries. You know, when you look at the United States, that's one country with 50 states. So that's the United States. When we look at Europe, uh, we look at France, Spain, Italy, and all the countries in Europe. But when we call Africa, we just lump them all together. But there's individual countries within Africa. Africa is a continent, and it's been named. The name has been changed several times. I was looking at a thing, and it said 100,000 BCE, and BCE stands for Before Common Era. That's 100,000 years BCE. It said the first humans began to migrate from what we call Africa today. They didn't call it Africa 100,000 years ago. And they started to venture out to other parts of the world. Now, a lot of that was ignored, especially when we get to what we call the Common Era. And the Common Era is anything from the time Alexander the Great and all those came, 300, what we call AD, all the way up to now. And you see different people invading different countries on the continent. And when they invaded those countries, they put their culture, whether it be the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Italians, the British, those people ran rapid over the continent of what we call Africa and the different countries in Africa. Matter of fact, all the names that are in there now are pretty much, unless they fought for their independence, were created by Europeans. So now we're facing the fact, and we're seeing the hand that they held over Black and brown people on this planet for almost the last 2,000 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
And one of the things I just discovered, even I guess I was told a while back, that Africa is a continent. And like all the places they said they're gonna go to in Africa, I was thinking that was a city in Africa. I didn't realize that Africa actually had 54 countries within the continent. So it's a pretty good sized place. It's pretty good size.
Well,
I didn't realize that.
it,
Because when you always lump everything, Africa is Africa. It was always lumped together, but there's different parts of Africa. And a lot of people don't realize that.
And to buttress what Mr. Drummer said, Nigeria was named by a European woman. Most Africans back in the olden days before BC, before common time, that's what you said. I love that word. And they like to live close to the river. And Nigeria, the river Niger kind of separated Nigeria in half. And one of the weaknesses that Africans have, unlike the modern world, like the United States, they brought people from all over the world to congregate. And due to technology, they can expand and create their own. But people like to live together so closely and they become tribe. Take, for instance, in Nigeria probably had close to at least over 20 dialects, languages. Folks 30 miles apart probably speak something totally different. And that's an opportunity for the Europeans to create some kind of war between them and things of that nature. And they took advantage of all that. So what I see, that thank God for technology, things are changing and there are roads and they don't have to walk through the woods to be able to go to their villages and things of that nature. Where walking over there, they might get captured or something might happen to them. And their families never know where they're at.
Mm. Yeah. And I know one of the things I learned was the apartheid. I heard apartheid and I went to meetings way back more than 30 some years ago. Went to the meetings about it, but I didn't realize until a few years ago what apartheid was all about. Because Africa have all the gold and silver and stuff, and the Europeans and Italians and all of those people went over there and took the land, took their gold and silver and stuff. They saw wealth in Africa and they wanted it from themselves. So, from my understanding, and I've seen pictures of Africans living in these box huts and all this kind of stuff on one side of might as well say one side of the track, and the other side of the track, you see these white people in these better homes. And I didn't think that was right either for them to go over there and take their stuff from them and make them live poor, and while they live rich. I didn't think that was cool either. It's like, okay, here they say, if you don't like what's going on here in the United States, go back to Africa. But then when you go back to Africa, you over there too, taking everything. It's like you don't win one way or the other, And so, and I was thinking about that with even with the movie today, even though the movie, The Mermaid, they have a black mermaid now, and white people are upset about that. They want that mermaid to be white. But what about the black Jesus? Are we raising all kinds of Cain because they put a white Jesus in there when we know it's black? No, we're not. But they get to always be superior and always, take from us and not let us have anything. I don't think that's cool. So we need to know our history and know where we stand, know that we came from great kings and queens and all of that kind of stuff. The motherland is a rich land. So we can't think that we are poor and going to always be poor, because that's not where we came from. No, we did not come from poor people. They just made us poor, make us look poor, feel poor, and determine that we're going to stay poor because they take stuff from you. Even when you gain in wealth, they're going to find a way to take it from you. Okay? If you want to buy some multi-million dollar home or something like that, they're going to find a way for you not to have it or to take it away from you. If you want to buy a big company, they're going to find a way to take it from you or not let you have it. It's all about them. So we need to know our history. We need to know.
Well, when you think about it, like I said, for the last 2,000 years, their presence on this planet has been well documented. Prior to, like I said earlier, 100,000 years ago. And you look at the introduction of what we now call Europe. I think the first people to start to invade anything, they might have been the Persians. Those places don't even exist today. That is what they call modern day Russia. And I think they invaded Egypt around 500 in the 5th century. Now, when you think about this, then you had Rome, then you had, when Alexander the Great came on board around 300, which is coming up to where we are now. That's when all the hell started breaking loose. Because when they were able to go into different parts of Africa, and it wasn't even called Africa then. In 300 AD, it was called something else. Now we look at names like Egypt, Kemet, Kush, the Nubian nation. There's a lot of different terms, and we just starting to look and dig it up. And when we find out who was invading, and then you fast forward all the way up until what we call the present day conquerors, people, Great Britain, France, Italy, the Portuguese. We don't even think about the Portuguese today. They don't control nothing. People going over to Portugal right now and finding out Portugal was the hellraiser. Portugal used to be just like United States. You used to run with a big stick, and they dominated for a period of time. You don't even recognize them as a superpower. But these folk were superpowers. And Belgium, and they just took this guy's statue down. He killed more people than all the ruthless from Hitler on back, and they just took his statue down. This when Belgium was ruling the world. They dominated the Congo. Well, you got when we look at it, these people taught, like the doctor said earlier, they taught the Dutch. We don't even know who the Dutch are today. These folks taught their history and ignored everything that was done on the continent, wherever they went. You know, you got to, when you look at Africa as a continent, and then with many countries, it's just like somebody went into Europe, which is an artificial continent because it's all Asia. They just cut it up because they wanted to. It's not even, it's all Asia. But they decided that each one of those countries would be independent. Norway, Sweden, all those countries, Spain. You don't just go in there and just start talking about Europe like it's a collective. Those are individual countries. But when we look at the continent of Africa, we look at all those countries went in, and because they had weapons, it's like modern day today. When you got nuclear weapons, you can control the planet. But back then they had gunpowder, and even the Chinese didn't take gunpowder to invade Africa. Now they're doing some stuff today, but they invented gunpowder. And when the European nations found out about gunpowder, they went on a rampage of conquering.
Mm-hmm.
That's a well-researched study, Mr. Drummer. Well said. Well said. And one of the things that we noticed as I continue to grow older is that the Europeans came sharing ideas with the gunpowder, and they called Africans are primitive folks. But meanwhile, they stole all their ideas and took them to Europe. And I believe that that's how the religion started. Because back in those days, Africans have their own gods. They do pray, but how come if they can't read and write, and everything that they talk about, they teach their kids is in the Bible, in the Quran, all the Proverbs. So it's about taking advantage and stealing ideas and turning into some kind of technology. And back in those days when I was growing up, Africans would use the sun to preserve their food. We dry some peppers, and the water, once it's collected rainwater, they put it somewhere for a few days, and everything settles down, and they can drink it. You know, there's so many things they've done that the people improve upon and use it as a power to conquer folks and took advantage of that. Just to buttress what you just said, Mr. Drummer.
It's like two different mindsets, two different ways of thinking. So there's one mindset that says that, I am a resident of this world, and in order to live here successfully, I have to respect it. I don't own it. I'm grateful, and so on. And then there's a perspective that says, I want to conquer. I want to own. And no one owns. When you really think about it, no one owns anything. And so as these conquerors would just go around with that mindset that I want to, conquer, control, and own, they would burn everything that was your history, your knowledge of self. They would take what they they deemed good and bring it into their culture, rename it, give it a different face, and and then call it theirs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did, and still doing it.
And
They
when
still
you look
taking
at it,
stuff.
oh yeah, they don't mind taking credit for stuff. But you think about it, they had, like I said, for the last 2,000 years, they've had a grip on the planet. You know, somebody asking, who are your African heroes? And I would say Shaka Zulu. And it's some others too. But you know, and I know you guys know some African heroes modern day. I can't even recall some of the brothers, a lot of the Moors. See, we don't even think about when the Moors dominated what we call Europe. That was you know, it's a lot of gaps that's missing. You know, if you look at what we call this era, the Vikings, we don't even remember the Vikings, you know, because they weren't dominating when around the 1000 around the Common Era, everybody was about equal. Okay, there was no, you couldn't just come in and take over a country because you had to fight, and the only thing you had to fight with was your hands, and everybody was pretty much equal. So you didn't have a lot of domination. The domination, you know, most people's empires, like the Roman Empire, it didn't spread, you know, over into major parts because they didn't have the capability, you know, because once you fight somebody, you take on losses. But when gunpowder came in, they got the weapons, they were able to outgun other civilizations. I mean, they had already taken and pillaged stuff and raped a good portion of different continents, but it really started to speed up, you know, probably after Napoleon. Napoleon was one of the first conquerors that was just mean. When he rolled up into different, he just knocked the noses because they had gunpowder. They take the cannons and blow the noses off. A lot of the damage that's done to a lot of, you know, it would be hard to do with your hands. You could tear some stuff up. But when they got gunpowder and bullets and stuff like that, they really started to destroy what we had built, our people.
Right. So I have a question. You mentioned the term Moor. So like the first president of this country was a Moor. Of course, again, he's been whitewashed. You find one name, one picture of him looking white and another picture of him being black. But he was a Moor. My question is, where did the term Moor come from and where exactly are the Moors?
Well,
anybody know that question?
I don't know where it came from, but there's a book by a brother called The Golden Age of the Moor. It's by brother Ivan van Cinnemeyer. He also wrote They Came Before Columbus. Now, I have read They Came Before Columbus, but I have not read The Golden Age of the Moor. But there's several books that back up the missing history that, you know, we hadn't been told. And it connects the dots between American Black and brown people and the people on the continent of Africa and all those different countries. But, you know, but you guys might know a lot about more, a little bit more about the Moors, but they dominated for a period of time. Europe.
Mm-hmm. They did.
And they did it with swords. They didn't have gunpowder. They did it with their fists and their weapons, swords and stuff like that.
Okay. And what were you about to say, Pat?
So, you know, that when you look back at the history of in that time, they would play games with semantics, you know, like they would switch words around, they'd give it different meanings, different contexts. So that's why it makes it difficult to really pinpoint, you know, a definitive answer on, you know, on certain terms like Moors or Bambara, or, you know, because it'll be used in one way, and then they'll start using it in a different way to, I guess, to confuse things. But
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you have you're in the process of opening a Black History Museum in Cobb County. So would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm really excited about it. It's called Before Slavery, the Before Slavery Museum, and we'll be in Cobb next year. It is totally focused on who African Americans are. Where did we begin? Because we know that we didn't just drop out of the sky and onto some slave ships, and for somebody to take advantage of us and utilize our gifts and skills to build their country. We No one taught us how to be engineers, how to grow, the agriculture, how to build, buildings. We came here with that knowledge. So, and they chose people according to, what they wanted. They wanted to capitalize off of. So, before slavery it starts at the 1600s and it gradually goes back in time, showing how we lived before the slave trade, how we governed ourselves, how we prepared our children for adulthood, um, just an understanding of who we are, and that's what we've been missing for so long. And in doing that, we will see the connection with people that we have a shared history with. So that's powerful. And there's so much to be gained by unifying with the rest of your family. It's family. And so before slavery does that for us. It allows us to walk through, learn the history in a fun and engaging way, so that you don't have to go sit in libraries or pull up the online versions of the. You do go ahead and do it, because it is so exciting once you see this history and understand it, to go look it up for yourself and confirm it, and it is exciting to do. But we give you a head start by making a show of it, so that you can be engaged, get excited, enjoy yourself, and when you leave there, you have a totally different perspective on yourself and your people, and and life.
Oh, okay. Okay. And Doc, I heard that you had contributed something or going to contribute to the museum. Would you like to tell us about that?
That was a few years ago. I was contacted by a gentleman. I think we met during the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. So they set up a museum in Charlotte, North Carolina, which will be opening up early part of next year. And I happen to be one of the charter members. And
Wow.
it's good to hear about the Before Slavery Museum, which I would love to be part of too. And definitely, I think you have something going on this Sunday. Am I correct?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. This Sunday, we're hosting a Sankofa festival. And yeah, Sankofa means retrieving things of value from our knowledge of the past, or I like to say our understanding of the past. So we'll have a portion of the museum out there. You can come out and get a preview of what you will see in the museum. We'll have live entertainment, um, uh, free health screenings. There'll be vendors. So it'll be a good day. Good day. Come out and learn a little more about your history and enjoy yourself. Milkshake Mayfield will be out there. The Uhuru dancers are going to show us some dances from the Kingdom of Mali. So it's very exciting. Tickets are on our website, beforeslavery.com. I hope people will come out and enjoy with us and support the museum so that, they will help us to get those doors open.
So where is this event?
It's at Taylor Bronner Park. Taylor Bronner Park. It's on Atlanta Road in Smyrna. So it's just off of Interstate 285, not far off the interstate, on Atlanta Road. It's from 2 to 6 this Sunday.
2 to 6?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Cool. So you said dancers, this is the African dancers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the Uhuru dancers will be there showing us some dances from the region that we came from.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay. So is it true that majority of the people that came here are from West Africa? Or do they come from all over the continent?
So
Really, go ahead, Miss Nice.
some people were trekked in from the interior. Some people even came as far as from East Africa and South Africa, like Zimbabwe and whatnot. But the slave coast was set up with forts, and and dungeons and whatnot where they would keep people. And a lot of us came from West Africa. But another thing is that if you take the history back far enough, you'll see that people have always been nomadic, so to speak, like migrating from place to place, and so you'll find a wide variety of folks, that if you go back far enough, they would have come from North Africa, East Africa, and so on.
Oh, okay. And what were you about to say, Doc?
I was going to add, West Africa is a straight shot to Savannah. And the shortest distance between Nigeria, airplane is just getting up from Savannah straight shot to West Africa. That's why, like Ghana, Nigeria, and all those West African countries, it's easier to connect to Europe and also to the United States. And I think that's where so many slaves came from the West African countries, because it's so close to the shores.
Oh,
And I posted a photo. I'm gonna add, since we're talking about history, I posted a photo of my dad, who one of the most popular kings in Nigeria, on Facebook yesterday. Wow. And that was the Queen visited Nigeria shortly before Nigeria got independence from Britain. And my dad was one of the ones that signed the documents for Nigeria's independence. So in a way, now that I'm happy about what the Queen and the kings have done in Britain against Africa, but I just kind of admire my dad, how he kind of kept a close watch on them and made sure that all his kids are educated. And so at least once you can educate your kids, they can learn more and maybe learn from the white folks and take advantage of them too, one way or the other, to surpass whatever. And my dad did a good job. He had a lot of children, and also made sure that all his children are educated. So my sister called BBC in London to share with them when the Queen came to to Nigeria. My dad took them to meet the Queen. So and she shared that story, and I posted it on Facebook, which is something to know about the closeness of Nigeria and Britain.
Okay.
Actually,
So
in 1960.
Britain had control of Nigeria at one point?
Oh yeah, full control from way back in perhaps maybe from the 30s until the late 40s and 50s when some Nigerians were crossing over to Europe and going to school, and they started talking until Britain relinquished control to Nigerians.
Oh,
And
okay.
Nigeria is so huge and has so many dialects. You know,
It has so many what?
languages and dialect.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, okay. Okay. Now, I know this might sound like a dummy question. Is Nigeria a country?
Yeah, Nigeria is a country. Now it's been divided to like 36 states, and Nigeria had 36 governors, and a capital city in Abuja, right in the central of Nigeria. And Nigeria is very wealthy, got all kinds of minerals, gold, diamonds, and all that. And just like the stories, you can find Nigerians all over the world. And history tells the Asians are from Nigeria, Cubans are from Nigeria, part of Mexico is from Nigeria, Brazilians are from Nigeria, even the Jamaicans. Everyone have ties to Nigeria.
Mm. Oh, okay. So whenever I think of Nigeria, I think of it as a city. So I didn't realize it was a country. So there are many cities within Nigeria.
That's correct.
I didn't know. So I told you I'm here to learn something tonight. Okay. Now you said that your father was a king, right?
Yes.
So he's a king over all of Nigeria or a certain part, or how do that
Some
work?
part, the western part is a city, an old city called Owo, and he was one of the most famous kings in his era. And ironically, my dad had over 140 children. And had
140 children?
yes, and over
Wow.
117 of them had college degrees. And he made sure close ties with their not far from the Europeans as they were living, making sure his kids got the opportunity to learn. And we do have a chapel in the palace. We have a palace almost built like a castle in London, in Britain. And we have a swimming pool. We have a tennis court back in the 60s. And we have a citrus plantation. We had all kinds of stuff. And his palace was the first one to have a pipe-borne water system toilet in our town, in our side of the town. And that's what he learned from there, and want to make sure that he grow with that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, I'm saying Africans are, they're very smart, and they might not be able to read and write, but they have knowledge. They've been able to rule themselves before the white folks came, provide for themselves, and run their families.
Okay, so question: I guess I can say your sisters and brothers. Everybody lived in one compound?
Yes, it was a big palace, surrounded
Big
by a brick
palace?
wall, got 3 gates, and each one of his wives have their own unit. And my age mate, we were 13 in numbers. That means 13 women were pregnant at the same time. But back in those days, you can do it because you have the power to do it. And there's the first elementary school was right next to the palace. So it's like a walking distance. And when I was in elementary 1, we had to hold hands. 13 of us holding hands going to school. We go to school together and hold hands together coming back. So there's an opportunity to get to know each other, and we grew up all together.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to understand for an American, but it was possible back in those days.
Yeah, because so many people can't deal with one woman, more or less than 13 or more.
I'm talking about that's the power of a king.
Yeah.
Everybody look up to the king as a god. You see what I'm saying? And the kings back in those days controls who live or die. Just is the power given to them by God. That's what people think. But until civilization, the white folks coming in and bringing their own types of administration, which you can't stop civilization.
Right. Oh, okay. And so,
You know,
you had your own religion there also, right?
Before the white folks came, yes.
Oh, okay.
And the white folks came and brought in their religion. They brought in Christianity. From there on, then the Muslims came, and they were with they have the women gods. Usually, the kings celebrate their wives, and they pay tribute to their wives every year, and because she too have control of the palace. So we have I mean, they do have the god of iron, the god of the sun, the god of water, and all And I remember one of the things that I understand when I was younger. I had a guy fell from the mango tree trying to pluck some mango fruits, and he broke his limb. There's a native doctor that took care of that and make sure the bones were set. And a few months later, the gentleman was able to walk and perform his regular duty.
wow.
Mm.
Yes, I remember that very well.
Oh, okay. So
You,
they didn't have to deal with modern day medicine there, huh? Everybody had herbs and spices.
Herbs, the trees, and the fruits, and you throw mango, any kind of, I mean, in my time, you throw any leftovers on the ground, it's going to germinate the next year.
wow.
You
Right.
know, so when I think about the Nama in the Bible, I mean, folks can literally survive in the woods. Now, so if you want to eat some protein, you can get a spear and kill an animal and put it in the sun. It dries up, and
Okay.
so those are the things that the white folks, I mean, colonial masters took advantage of and learned from that and make it better, to serve our civilization. Africans
Mm.
are very smart.
Right. Yeah. And they they had to be. They had to be. And I think about how they want to portray them as being dummies and having a tail. Have anybody ever came up to you and wanted to see your tail?
My first year in college, first 2 months, my
Wow.
roommate would look at me and be looking around to see where my tail is. But we became best of friends back in those days. This was in this is not too long ago in 1978. It was March, and I was assigned to go stay with him. And they introduced me to him, and I'm just from Nigeria, and I've never been any part of the United States. My first shot was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and they took
Wow.
me to the athletes dormitory, and the lady in charge of athletes, she could not keep her eyes off me. She had her hand, she was holding my hands everywhere I go because she'd never met an African before. I'm like, wow, the
Wow.
things has
Yeah.
changed for good though. Things has really changed.
Mm. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I
So you
know.
were a prince.
Born, born Prince.
Yeah, still a prince.
So I have a question. Okay, since your father had that many children, so all the rest of them are princes and princesses, prince and princesses.
That's correct.
Oh,
Just like
okay.
the Queen of England, you'll notice all the keys are either military officers, you see them in uniforms and things of that nature. My dad
Mm-hmm.
made all his children men chiefs out in the town. And if you were the
Wow.
firstborn of your mom, and your mom doesn't have any boys or sons, the first lady becomes a chief. So in other words,
Mm.
any one of us are open to be king. And we already have a title. We already learn how to be leaders. So I
Mm.
wonder where all that came from. I mean, the Europeans are
Wow.
practicing it. And
Yeah.
before he became king, his dad made him a chief.
His dad made him a chief.
His dad, my grandfather, made my dad a chief.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Right. And when we were younger, like all the boys were made chief, especially when you're 1 year old, you become a chief. That means you're a chief in the town. So if you
Wow.
ever, assume the role of a king, but you've been a leader before that.
Oh, okay. So Is your father still living now?
No, he passed at age 88 in 1999.
And one of your siblings took over his spot as king?
Our oldest brother took over as the king.
Okay. So
Right.
he's king of Nigeria now.
Right up until 2 years ago when he passed. Then one of my cousins is the king now, from the same lineage of kingship.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Cool. Now that's interesting. Okay.
So
So
So if you ever go online, type Sir Olateru Olabege, my last name, and see what it pulls for you.
Wow.
oh, okay. Okay. Were you about to say something, Pat?
you see the structure, right? Like there's structure in the way of governing, you know, a group of people. And I don't know about you, but when I grew up, if they did mention anything or if we asked questions about Africa, the kinds of answers we would get is that, you know, you came from a bunch of savages that were running around in the bush naked, you know. So, but you see that, you know, we always had structure. We had the people were represented, you know. You have a king, but under the king there are layers of, you know, there's structures. You heard about the chiefs and so on, and the chiefs are groomed, right, to
That's correct.
become to take on the responsibility. They're not just put there, they're groomed and taught. And so, you know, there's plenty of structure there, and that's it's that kind of thing that we're not taught and we don't know, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They want to keep us blind, you know, to our history and our culture. They want to keep us blind. So it's up to us to learn. You know, we have to
Right.
seek the knowledge to learn about the history and the culture of our people. We have to, because let them tell them we're just a nobody who's dumb and can't think for ourselves, even though we're the one who built this country, we're the one who brought all the technology and all of that, but we're still the dumb ones. You know, we're still the ones who don't know how to handle the money, even though they are taking the money from us, so we can't handle it. You know, so it's good to know. It is good to know. Okay.
And
So we are about run out of time, and we have a new guest here. Hey, Miss Sharon, how are you?
Hello and good
hey,
evening. And this has been most awesome, everyone. I thank you all so very much for sharing. And I saw people saying, oh, awesome. They really love this. This is why we have to make sure, Sylvia and Reginald, that people get out the vote. Today was National Voter Registration Day. So we were all over the state making sure that people knew what to do. Remember your My Voter page, okay, mvp.os.ga.gov to check your status. Please just know purging is still going on. Also, Thursday, September 22nd, this is the anniversary of the 1906 Atlanta race riots, now being renamed massacre. And it's so important that we understand how this occurred. Pillaging, murdering, going through the streets. You all know that Alonzo Herndon's barbershop was one of the first places that they went and pull people from the trolleys from their homes. This is something that we must come together and stand up to. So thankful to the Civil and Human Rights Museum. The wait a minute, what is it? Equitable dinners is happening with facilitators and people joining, trying to match the 5,000 that actually came across. 10,000 were the rioters, and look, they actually killed, it was about 25 people all total, but they killed men,
wow.
women, and children. uh the 1906 Atlanta race riots, and it was a whole weekend over 4 days, you all. So this is something we must not forget, but we also must stand for what it was about, from voting to the lies on Black men, as well as, of course, it was businesses seeing Blacks rise. And as this is a testament to from whence we come, to what we've been through, to what we must do to rise above this, and that never happens again. I thank you. I bless Sister Pat Snipes for what she is doing with the Before Slavery Museum. Look to see everyone on Sunday. And of course, Prince Koya Alatero Olabege. It has been an honor to know you all of these years and for all that you have done. I actually had the opportunity, by way of both Prince Koya as well as attorney Charles Anirimba, to be the PR for the, what was it, Koya? It was the 39th anniversary of Nigeria's
Nigerian
independence.
government, yeah,
Wow.
during the military
Public
government.
eye relations, yes, most definitely. And to work with the consul generals that were here
Right.
during that time. It was, I know it's not, I'm not, how you say, all in there now, but it was a time that, yes, I also was a columnist for the African Quest newspaper,
That's
excuse
correct.
me, as well as the Gold Star Herald, which was the Ghanaian newspaper. So it Africa Day at the Capitol with former late Henrietta uh, Turnquest, as well as Senator James, as well as Representative Barbara Mobley. So it's been something. And the concerned coalition of concerned Africans, Toya, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had the
Yes,
Nigerian business professionals during the Bill Campbell, and we were very successful with that.
that is correct. And we will look to see Her Excellency Ambassador Davisha Johnson at the Before Slavery Museum on Sunday, September 25th.
Yes,
Okay.
we're looking forward to seeing the ambassador there, as well as Prince Koya.
Wow.
And awesome. And I
Thank
have
you.
invited, actually, I have also invited the great great grandniece of Harriet Tubman. Rita Daniels is here in Cobb County, and they just finished a statue in New York as well. And we have over the years as well with formerly the Sights and Sounds, um, my goodness, Black Cultural Museum and Expo with Brother James Horton, of which Prince Koya has been presented there as well. uh, it was a time with the great grand nieces, Rita Daniels' mother and sister. Miss Geraldine is Miss Daniels' mother. She passed year before last, but her sister Pauline uh, is still living, and so we hail all the different family uh, members, and they're the descendants of Harriet Tubman.
Mm,
Oh, okay. Cool.
yeah.
And that would be interesting. I would like to go to that. Okay. But we have ran out of time. Uh, thank you
Thanks,
guys.
Adrian.
Thank each and every one of you for what you've said. You have educated some of us, because I was in the blind for a few things. So I really appreciate you coming on and telling us everything. Uh, we're gonna see you guys, I guess maybe this weekend, huh? Yeah. And also, just remember, you don't you won't know yourself unless you know where you came from. Okay. In order to know yourself, you must know where you came from. So it is very important to know your history, your family history. Oh, it is important. It's a wealth of knowledge there. So know where you came from so you can be smarter. Let's do it like that, smarter, because you want to be smarter. Okay, wiser, you want to have the knowledge. Knowledge is power. Just remember that. Knowledge is power. And so until next week, we're going to say, be sure you look at this book, Power Thoughts, empowering you to be successful in life. You can get it at ankproductions.com, ankproductions.com. So until next week, we're going to say, Abarigani. Okay. See you later. Y'all have a good one.